2 of the chi-squared final project tutorial, and the goal of this video is to show you guys actually how to calculate your chi-squared for your project. And so step 1, before you do anything, I have my observed and expected tables already made, and then I made a new table for my chi-squared. And as a reminder, to calculate chi-squared, it's our observed minus our expected squared divided by our expected. And so in this cell right here, I'm going to do just that. So I'm going to go ahead and do equal sign, parentheses, and I'm going to do double parentheses. And then I'm going to click on my observed minus my expected, close parentheses, and then I'm going to square it by doing caret 2, that's squaring it, and I'm going to close my parentheses again. And then lastly, we need to divide by our expected again. So I'm going to do slash divide by my expected again, and then enter. So I should have this number for my chi-squared just for the 9th grade for less than 6. What I'm going to do is do that same calculation throughout my entire spreadsheet. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that little square, drag it down, and it does the chi-squared for 10th, 11th, and 12th for less than 6 hours. And then I'm going to go ahead and do that same thing and drag this square sideways, the little baby square, and I'll do it for all my other categories, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9. And if you double click on it, all it's doing is you're taking your observed minus expected squared divided by expected, but for all of them. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab those little squares and go all the way down for each of my columns, like this. And so now I have all of these little baby chi-squareds. My final chi-squared is going to be the sum of all of these numbers. So I made another little table right here, and I have my chi-squared, degree of freedom, critical value, and my p-value, and I'm going to show you how to calculate these right now. So for my final chi-squared, I'm going to go ahead and go equal sign, sum, open parentheses, and highlight all of these numbers. My final chi-squared will be the sum of all of the chi-squareds I just calculated, which gives me 7.99. For my degree of freedom, it's the minimum information I need in order to know everything about my data set. It's a little bit different than what we've been working with earlier. The reasoning behind it is I have categories compared to categories. So I have 4 categories for grade level and 4 categories for my sleep. And so to find my critical value, the way I do it is I'm going to take the number of rows minus 1 times the number of columns minus 1. And so for the rows, I have 4 different categories that I'm using for sleep, and then my column is I have 4 different categories for 9th, 10th, and 11th, and 12th that I'm using. So to calculate my degree of freedom, it's going to be 4 minus 1, which is 3, times my rows, which I have 4 rows, minus 1, which is also 3. And so my degree of freedom is 9 for my data. The next step is to find the critical value. And to use the critical value, I'm going to go ahead and pull up this table here, which should be taped on all of your desks. And I'm going to go ahead and find the degree of freedom for 9, and then look at that corresponding critical value. So I'm going to go down. There's 9 right there. My critical value should be 16.919. So I'm going to go ahead and enter 16.919 is my critical value for my data set. And then the last thing I'm going to do is calculate my p-value for my study. To do that, we're going to do equal sign, chi test, open parenthesis. I'm going to highlight my observed values, comma, and then highlight my expected values, and then close parentheses, enter. My p-value is 0.5, my critical value is 16.9, my degree of freedom is 9, and then my chi-squared is 7.99. And as a reminder, we only can reject the null hypothesis if our chi-squared is larger than our critical value. 7.99 is not larger than 16.9, so I would accept my null hypothesis. And that concludes calculating your chi-squared.